Dive into Summer's Quest. Book 2 by Noshi.
Before dozing off that night, I kept thinking about Monterey's words. What is the hidden truth? What has happened in the past such that my mom is reluctant to the idea of city life? These questions may not have answers, but there is no such thing in the world which doesn't have an explanation. If Newton can find gravity as the cause behind the falling of an apple, then Summer Terensky can discover the truth about the cause of a person's hesitance to urban life. The next day, I went to the nearby market to buy stationery for my school. Even after my purchase, I had $1 left. So, before returning home, I decided to have a veg puff at my favorite cafe. I paid the amount and sat at a table near the window. The memory of my mom and I sitting there every time made me quite emotional. The waitress lady Maria knew our family. She came with my meal and sat across the table.
Hey Sammy, how are you? How is your mom and where is she?
She asked. I said, I'm fine. I hope you are fine too. Yesterday there was a bit of a grudgy debate back home.
I guess Chef Terensky is on her way. I saw Andy leave yesterday.
She replied. I figured you would know, Maria, I sighed. But your assumption is wrong, though. It was a mess. We talked briefly about how they will introduce new recipes at their cafe and that I should frequently visit to do some inventions. But I replied that with the currency, there isn't a possibility of that happening. Maria suggested that I confront my family once, but in a family meeting, so that my personality may not come out harsh like a rebel. I have lost hope. There is not much left to discuss, as Mom said. If I want to do cooking, I can do it here, in this town. I have no clue about the reason for my allowance, so I shall find it out, shan't I? I said and turned to go.
Summer, you're the bravest girl I have ever met. You have one dream, and I know you will strive to work hard for it, even against the world's prejudice. You have the freedom to choose whether you want your ship to drown, never to be found again, like the Titanic, or to sail through the wind like no other. Summer, I know your mom. She understands and wants the best for you. There is a reason, and you will find it out soon.
She said in an affirmative tone before tapping twice on my shoulder and attending to another customer. I strode off home and proclaimed my plan of visiting my aunt. Mom said that I should be back home before dinner. On my way, hundreds of tulips in yellow and white lined the pathway to Rockersby, my aunt's town. They glistened in the sunlight and merrily flowed with the air, but it didn't seem very nice. I was reminded of the colorful Mary at the New York Academy. I soon reached my destination and, steering away my clouds of thought, rang the doorbell to see my cheerful Aunt Amber. She seemed delighted at the thought of my visit and embraced me before leading the way to the hall. I explained, Aunt Amber, you know how rarely I visit you. Once in 6 months, hardly a year. So you must have known that I have come with a motive to seek the truth. You are the oldest known relative of my mom. I'm sure you have the answers to my queries. She was visibly, in fact obviously taken aback with my straightforward to-the-point speech. She chuckled and said,
Would you like some hot cocoa, dear? if you're going to have this interrogation, you need some cocoa. It will soothe you right.
I gave a short laugh, and she soon sat on the sofa chair across from me with 2 cups of hot cocoa. I took a sip, and it did soothe me right. Aunt Amber always has a way of handling everyone. She said that before answering me, she would like to know about the well-being of our family. I said that we were fine, but a situation had taken place due to which my sudden visitation was in place. I explained to her from the raw, my dream and the sudden appearance with the cohorts, my mom's protective fury, the hard feelings holding her back from sending me to my dream place, and now how I am here to gauge the knowledge behind it. She understood me well. Aunt Amber said,
Sammy, there are things you wouldn't understand at your age. If I tell you this, I would be cut off from your mom's relative list. So, wow, you wouldn't tell her what I'll say, okay? It is only that you want to know,
I nodded, but said my mom would know either way because no one else understood me like her. Aunt Amber just gave a small smile. She started.
Years ago, when your mom Winter was 20 years old, we had been friends for around 5 years. We used to study at New York's most remarkable and well-known college for fossil and archive studies. Hidden archival science. Winter and I enjoyed exploring evidence of historical monuments, people and animals. It was enchanting to be exposed to a new world our families had not known or followed for generations. But when your mother turned 28, she was forced to marry, settle and have a family instead of following her passion. Against her wish, your mother got married, yet she became lucky and unlucky.
How would she be lucky if she got married against her wish? I interrupted.
You should learn to wait for the speaker to finish their sentence,
She said, and I just said sorry to continue the story, which had now tickled my excitement.
When your mom married your dad, Stephen Terensky, he was pretty uninterested in your mom's work. As you know, he rarely used to be in the house. He was the same back then too. But somehow your mom got her allowance to work with the help of her parents themselves. They were against it before, but they encouraged her to finish her studies after knowing that Winter was becoming an unhappy wife. My studies were still going on then, and when she joined after 2-3 months, she would talk to me about how lucky she was to keep studying, but each day she had one complaint. I wish I chose my life and decisions. She was wretched at the idea of her life being controlled, but one constant person in her life was her sister, Autumn. Winter and Autumn were not just sisters, they were best friends too. Their mother named them seasons because she believed the two sisters were connected like the 4 seasons in a year. They shared their lives, talks and feelings. While Winter was married off, Autumn stayed independent and took care of herself away from the family but connected to Winter, making her small-time acting career. But as they say, moments do not last long. Autumn aced a lead role in an upcoming movie and became a star overnight. When she learned this, Winter was happy to see her sister succeed in her passion. So she decided to visit Autumn in person at her home. But she was nowhere to be found. For days, there was no sign of Autumn until Winter became worried. On the second day, the news channel displayed News of how Autumn attended the movie premiere and had uncontrollably drunk herself in the moment of this celebration. Winter reached as soon as she could to find her sister as arrogant as she could be. They didn't talk for days. Winter knew the effects of how one enters the limelight and loses themselves, cutting off family ties and forgetting the value of life. Still, she had faith that her sister was not like that. Here, Winter was unhappy with her life, and Autumn was living her confectionery life there. Whenever your mom tried to contact Autumn, her manager or the house helpers would pick up the phone or the line would ring. With this, Autumn became distant from her mom, and this was a significant setback in her life. She had then lost her best friend and tried to share with me, but the bond between her sister and her was always a blockage. One day, after 2-3 years, Autumn called and asked Winter to meet her at her home. Winter congratulated her sister on her success and how she finally got her deserved recognition after all the hard work. But when your mother talked about how the family has engaged her life to hell by deciding her decisions, Autumn told her to stop. She speculated that Winter was influencing her life and that she should not be contained in a path by an ordinary girl. She rudely commented on how Winter should have taken control of her life, how she should have become like her, and on and on and on. Winter was hurt by the snobby and boastful attitude of her sister. She had one person she trusted the most, one who would share her life and never turn her back. And then that person herself had taken off to stardom. Winter had tried to communicate many times before, but it all failed. Before setting off, she said to Autumn, "Good luck finding another Winter." When their family learned this, they did not become angry. They became disappointed. They knew Autumn was always like this, full of ambitions and dreams, but not a tint of family or marriage. Since then, they never talked.
So, where is Aunt Autumn now? I questioned.
Soon after their meeting, Autumn was found in an unconscious state at her home. She was rushed to the hospital but failed to survive. Your mother was agonized and bereaved for months until she had you. Your siblings often reached out to me to help your mom recover from that war. But I knew that a time would come when she would get better, and that was when you were born. Winter knew she would have a summer when the right time came. Spring came and went. Autumns did so too. Winters glowed frosty nights, but summers always came blue. Until you arrived with a new light, Winter was as happier. She knew the perfect name for you, and that was Summer the Merrier. You were the lighting to her clouds of darkness, the thunder in her silence. It was you who she knew she had to protect from the world as you grew. You were full of dreams. Since you were 7, after your dad died, you wanted to take all the family's problems away, do more than what you could, and always try to take up the worries of others. But once you were influenced by the thought of raw ingredients, cooking, and then the satisfaction of seeing that food deliciously enjoyed by people, your mother knew that that was the beginning. It was still the result or the dream of people enjoying your food. But you mix the thoughts of being famous one day and becoming a celebrity chef, going to judge shows and attending interviews. She hesitates about going or letting you go where she lost her person to popularity and the fake life. She's protective of you so that you do not fall into the illumination and fantasy of such a life. You now know why she doesn't let you go. I hope your queries are resolved.
She said. I took a moment to take this all in. I suddenly stirred So, after this catastrophe, the pivot is that I have to be away and stay safe from a place where my mom lost her sister, whom I had never even heard about. Am I right? I asked.
That's quite the point. Yes.
She replied. I was taken back to when my mom switched off the television show about celebrity chef Tomlin Robinson. Whenever I would talk about any discussion or news related to the limelight and stuff, she would divert my mind to some work or topic. Of course! Now it all pieces up together and makes sense, I said.
Well, I'm glad you understand so. It is absurd of you to approach me for such a conversation. You meant business when you came here.
She chuckled.
You should visit Aunt Amber in this little stone cottage where she spends all day alone. You don't miss me anymore. Dear me, I think I'm destined not to be visited by anyone.
She sighed. Well, that's not how it is, Aunt Amber. Didn't my mom ever come to revisit you? I questioned. Yes, that is where the mystery starts, everyone. Will Aunt Amber finally reveal the truth and the whole truth? Or am I left alone in the desert of the unknown?